What is up, everyone? I'm Rusty, your local laboratory maniac, and this is Labman EDH. I have a spooky video for you today. It's the Halloween season, my favorite time of year, and I have 5 unique Halloween themed decks that I'm going to talk about. This one is about scary movies specifically. I'm going to actually have a few extra videos this month because I've just been waiting to tell you guys about some of these decks for the Halloween season. Now, for the record, these are full of flavor, but they're also functional and powerful decks. So you can take them, love the flavor, but also play with them. As I go over them, I will go over the lore from Magic and whatever movie that inspired them in this video. Before we get into this, feel free to comment down below which one of these you would be afraid to face off against across the table. Now, don't get too scared and let's just jump into it. This first one is probably my favorite deck that I own. I built it based around The Exorcist. Now, The Exorcist is a classic horror movie about a demonic possession of a girl named Reagan. The commander in this deck is John Aridicus Shattered One. He is a 4 mana Dimir legendary creature elf wizard. At the beginning of your instep, target opponent gains control of up to one target creature you control. Put 2+1/+1 counters on it and tap it. It is goaded for the rest of the game and has this creature can't be sacrificed. Then, whenever a creature you own but don't control attacks, you draw a card into 3/3. Now, I want to donate demons to my opponents and then boost them up with counters, goad them, and most importantly, they can't be sacked. Then you draw cards for the icing on top of that cake. This is how we will possess our opponents with demons. We will donate them, empower them, and then, yeah, usually these demons will hurt our opponents. However, it's not going to be like most John Aridicus decks where they're going to just hate playing against it. Really, we're just giving them powerful demons that they can use. So keep that in mind. It's not as toxic as most John Aridicus decks are. Now, if you don't know, The Exorcist was one of the most profitable and revolutionary horror movies ever made. The Exorcist is based loosely on real events. When young Reagan, played by Linda Blair, who I met in person, by the way, I go to some horror conventions from time to time, she starts acting odd. Her worried mother seeks medical help, only to hit a dead end. Science can only explain so much, after all. She starts levitating, speaking in tongues, and puking everywhere. A local priest, however, thinks the girl may be seized by the devil. You don't think? You sure? You sure she's not like autistic or something? Now, the priest makes a request to perform an exorcism, and the church sends in an expert to help with the difficult job. The demon possessing her is known as Pazuzu. It's not Satan, but it's still a powerful demon nonetheless. I won't spoil the ending for any of these movies. I'm just giving you a synopsis. You know this girl is possessed. Look at her levitating over the bed. Magic the Gathering has many different references to possession in even the movie The Exorcist. Ghostly possession is a direct reference to the scene where Reagan levitates above her bed. Although this is probably a spirit, not a demon, it's a young girl floating above her bed while being possessed. Cloistered Youth transforming into Unholy Fiend has flavor text that depicts a version of the movie The Exorcist on Innistrad. The flavor text reads, I heard her talking in her sleep, pleading, shrieking, and snarling. It was not my daughter's voice. That is not my daughter. And then the other side says, the fiend tormented them by recounting the girl's memories, as if some part of her remained inside the twisted shell. There have been other references to demonic possession throughout Magic history. Oni possession is based around demonic spirits possessing a mortal. Demonic possessed witch shows the dangers of someone using demons for power. And the most terrifying is the possessed goat. For discarding a card, you can turn it into a 4/4 goat demon. That poor little goat. Now, a lot of our demons will require sacrifice, and that's good for us because when we donate them to our opponents, they get the ability that they can't be sacrificed themselves. So they basically have to sacrifice stuff they already own. But it's not an exchange where they're getting nothing for nothing. They will be getting a powerful demon. Now, Lord of the Pit was a demon from Alpha set. It's the OG demon, if you will. It is a 7 mana black creature demon. As tramp on flying, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature other than Lord of the Pit. If you can't, Lord of the Pit deals 7 damage to you. So if they can't sack, it actually burns them with damage, and it's a 7/7. And when you give it to your opponent, it'll be a 9/9 flying trample, so it'll be able to beat your opponent's faces. That's the kind of the goal of this deck. We want to give our opponents weapons. We don't want to give them a hindrance. Now, Hellcarver Demon is by far the meanest card. This is definitely a hindrance, but it is also potentially a very fun card for our opponent. It's a 6 mana black demon. It has flying. When it deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice all other permanents you control and discard your hand. Exile the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast any number of non-land cards exile this way without paying their mana cost. Again, they can't sacrifice the demons we are giving them, so they get to keep those and they get to cast free spells from the top of the library. It's at a heavy cost, of course, like all demonic powers are. A fun include I did for flavor purposes, but you can actually do a whole deck around it if you wanted, is Cosmic Horror. It's a 6 mana black horror. As first strike, at the beginning of your upkeep, you pay 6 or destroy Cosmic Horror. If you destroy Cosmic Horror this way, it does 7 damage to you. So if we want to donate that to them and they can't pay, hopefully you donate to someone who doesn't have black mana. But we give it indestructible, like with something like Gift of Doom, which is 5 mana black aura, enchant creature. Enchant creature has indestructible and death touch. And then it morphs to sacrifice a creature. And then it says when it's turned faced up, you may attach it to a creature. So basically, you can do so many dark steel plate. You can do whatever you wanted on him, make him indestructible. So you control the equipment, but you donate the creature to them, so it keeps hitting them for 7 every turn, which is pretty nice. We do want some redundancy, so there are other donate effects in this deck. For example, Fateful Handoff. It's a 4 mana black sorcery. You draw cards equal to the mana value of target artifact or creature you control, and opponent gains control of that. So it's a draw and donate, perfect for us. Something you could donate, like if you use the actual card donate, which is a 3 mana sorcery, it's blue that donates a permanent you control. You could donate Illusions of Grandeur, which is a 4 mana blue enchantment, has cumulative upkeep for 2, and whenever it comes into play, you gain 20 life. Then whenever it leaves play, you lose 20 life, and then you can't prevent that life loss. So you can essentially donate the Illusions of Grandeur after you gain 20, so your opponents will lose 20 once they can't pay for that upkeep. For board wipes and removal, you want like sacrifice effects like Blasphemous Edict. It's a 5 mana black sorcery. You pay a black rather than pay its cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. It's flavorful for a deck, of course, and it's functional because your demons can't be sacrificed. Then you got something like Raise the Palisade. It's a 5 mana blue sorcery. You choose a creature type. Return all creatures that aren't of the chosen type to their owner's hand. We're going to choose demons, so they keep their demons, obviously, and then return everything else. So hopefully a lot of your opponents have been whittled down through the demons attacking. But what if it's just you and your last opponent? Those demons are goaded, but there's no other people to attack, so they can attack you. Use something like Homeward Path to get them all back. They still can't be sacrificed. However, they're still boosted and they can swing in on your opponent, hopefully for game. And that's the deck. Possess your opponents like they're in The Exorcist. Make them have to exorcise them or pay to keep them around. But if you come across this card on the screen, run for the hills. It's the perfect counter for the deck. Keep those priests away from me. One of the terrors of horror movies that resonates with everyone is the concept of tainting the holy or innocent, whether it's a demon possessing a child or a demon tainting the Holy Church. We see this in the movie The Nun, where a demon named Valak uses a church as a seat of power to summon itself. Jaren, corrupted bishop, is a Magic the Gathering character that also uses the Church of Avacyn for corrupt means and to summon a demon. Now, Jaren is the commander of this deck, and he reads, he's a 3 mana black legendary creature, human cleric. Whenever he enters the battlefield or another non-token human you control dies, you lose 1 life and you create a 1/1 white human creature token. Then you pay 2 generic, target human you control gains lifelink until end of turn. And at the beginning of your end step, if you have exactly 13 life, you may pay 6 mana. If you do, you transform him, and he's a 2/3. He transforms into Ormondal the Corruptor. Legendary creature demon has flying, trample, and lifelink, and you can sacrifice another creature to draw the card into 6/6. So this deck is going to be human tribal. It's going to be specifically including stuff like priests, clerics, stuff like that. It's going to have 13 demons in it because feel like that just fits the theme. And we're going to try to get our life down to 13 by sacrificing humans or paying life in order to flip him into Ormondal. It's a really fun deck. Jaren is from Innistrad, as I said, with the Church of Avacyn. A bishop is someone who has an oath to protect the people and serve the church. However, Ormondal corrupts him with the promise of power, a typical promise of a demon, but it will cost him greatly. Now, Ormondal was the most powerful demon on Innistrad once Griselbrand was killed by Liliana. This deck is unique in a few ways. As I said, we're going to have many priests and religious figures in their own little dark church. It's going to appear holy, but in reality, we're all about death, demons, and sacrifice. You got Skirtstag High Priest is a 2-mana black human cleric, has the morbid ability, you tap it, tap 2 untapped creatures you control, create a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying. Activate only if a creature died this turn. It's a 1/2. So we're going to have plenty of creatures dying all the time. It will not be hard to activate that ability. Now, Shadowrite Priest is a really great card as well for this deck. It's one of the few cleric kind of lords that we have in here. It's a 2-mana human cleric. Other clerics you control get +1/+1, and then you pay 5, tap it, sacrifice another cleric, search the library for a black creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. Now, that is a really powerful ability. We're going to have plenty of clerics to sacrifice, and he literally gets out demons. So both of these really get out demons, whether it's a token or an actual card. So it just fits the flavor perfectly, and they're pretty powerful. Now, it's kind of crazy how the Innistrad story aligns with the Nun story. If you aren't familiar, let me tell you a little bit about it. Just like the church on Innistrad, the Unholy entered the church called the Abbey of St. Carda in Romania in 1952. Much like on Innistrad with the Hell Vault that locked demons away, Valakut was locked away beneath a seal in the church by the nuns and priests. They prayed continuously to keep it under wraps. However, a misplaced bomb in World War II cracks its seal, just like the Hell Vault was cracked, leading to the release of Valakut. He corrupts the nuns and priests and kills any who can't be corrupted, taking over the church. And then a young nun actually enters that church unknowingly of the danger and realizes things aren't exactly how they appear. Now, the Priest of the Blood Rite is another human that summons demons. It's a 5-mana black human cleric. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life, and it's a 2/2. So it's doing all the summoning stuff that we want. Then you get Archpriest of Shadows. It's a 5-mana black human warlock. It has backup 1, Death Touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player or battle, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's 4/4. We're going to have a lot of recursion in this deck because we're going to be sacrificing a lot, and we're in the perfect colors for recursion, of course. Sacrificing to benefit from our commander will be an effective way to get us to that 13 life total. Priest of the Forgotten Gods is a human cleric that does just that. It's a 2-mana black creature. You tap it, you sacrifice 2 other creatures, any number of target players lose 2 life and sack a creature. Then you add 2 black and draw the card, and it's a 1/2. Then you got Disciple of Griselbrand. It's a 2-mana black human cleric. You pay 1, sacrifice a creature, you gain life equal to that sacrificed creature's toughness. Now, the life gain is good because if our life gets a little too low, we can always regain that back. You can have plenty of great demons in this deck. I specifically chose 13 because of, just kind of the flavor of it, but you don't have to do that if you want. You can put as many as you want. Now, I actually used to play a standard deck that used Skirtstag High Priest, Disciple of Griselbrand, and Ravenous Demon. Ravenous Demon is a 5-mana black demon. You sacrifice a human to transform him. You can only do this as a sorcerer, and he's a 4/4. Archdemon of Greed is who he transforms into. It's a demon with flying trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a human. And if you can't, tap Demon of Greed, and it deals 9 damage to you, and it's a 9/9. So it's a 9/9 with flying and trample. That's huge. We're going to have plenty of humans to sacrifice. Our commander makes human tokens. So even when we sacrifice a human, we'll get another one back. It's just perfect flavor, perfect synergy. One demon that isn't often played because of its high cost is Elbrus the Binding Blade. Now, I am counting this as one of my demons. Just keep that in mind. It's a 7 mana legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, unattach it, then transform it, and equips for 1. It transforms into Withengar Unbound. He's a legendary creature demon, has flying, intimidate, and trample. Whenever a player loses the game, put 13 +1/+1 counters on him, and he's a 13/13. So he's doing the 13/13 thing, which I love. And he was actually made for multiplayer, which was rare back in the day. I believe this was from Dark Ascension, so it was the original Innistrad block. So he's pretty dope. Withengar and Geist of St. Traff have a connection in the story. Did you know that? The Skirtstead cult lured St. Traff into a trap, blinded him, and then switched out his blade with Albrus the Binding Blade. He killed a cultist with the blade, summoning Withengar. The demon killed St. Traff, but then an army of angels descended and destroyed Withengar's body in response, leading him to revert back to black mana. In the Dark Ascension block, he came back. He is believed to be the most powerful demon in all the multiverse. Elbrus, the Binding Blade, is made from a bone from his finger. Now, let me ask you a question. Why would someone side with the demons, especially a religious man or organization like Jaren in the Church of Avacyn? Well, imagine you're on a world full of monsters. Werewolves are ripping people apart, your dead relatives are haunting you via spirits, vampires are drinking your blood, zombies are eating you alive. Where do you go? Well, you go to the church, of course. But what if the all powerful being of your church just kind of disappears? You see your religious power fading away. You might just make a deal with a demon to defend your homes, to keep your power, to protect your family, and to survive. That's why I like cards like Demonic Counsel and Demonic Tutor. They give great examples of how humans, for knowledge and power, will give into the demonic temptation. What if you mix demons with zombies? The dead with the demons? What do you get? Some would argue you get a deadite. Deadites are a species of undead parasitic spirits, which feed on the souls of the living and possess their bodies from the movie Evil Dead. They continue to possess the body even if the body expires during the possession. Well, Magic the Gathering does have Deadites in card form. Farina was reprinted in the Evil Dead Secret Lair as Linda, Kadarian Queen. It is a 4 mana Esper commander, legendary creature, zombie, wizard. Whenever you attack with one or more zombies, you draw that many cards, then discard that many cards, you gain that much life. When you pay 2, you exile 2 cards from your graveyard. You create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. It's a 4/4. So we're not only going to focus on this card, but we have a secret commander as well. Now, if you haven't seen the secret layer of Evil Dead, here it is. There's 6 cards, one being a token. Unfortunately, they made Ash, who's the main character in Evil Dead, a non-legendary creature, so you can't even use him. That's unfortunate. However, our secret commander is on this screen. It is Cabin of the Dead, also known as Field of the Dead. Now, if you don't know about Evil Dead, it is almost like it's a horror movie for sure, but it's also almost like a comedy movie. It involves a guy named Ash and his friends going to a cabin in the woods. They see in the basement this tape recorder, and they hit play and they find this book called the Necronomicon, and it starts summoning demons. These demons are deadites. They possess the people that he loves, and then he has to fight them off. Eventually, Linda, his girlfriend, becomes one. And of course, when Linda becomes one, he has to kill her. He beheads her. Eventually, he gets a chainsaw. It's a really cool scene. And it all happens in this Cabin of the Dead, also known as Field of the Dead. It's a land that comes in tapped, taps for colorless, and when it or another land enters the battlefield under your control. If you control 7 or more lands of different names, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So this is going to be essentially an Esper landfall deck. And Linda will benefit us because we're going to be making a lot of zombie tokens. We attack with those tokens, we draw and discard and gain life. So that's the goal of this deck, to make an army of deadites to kind of swarm our opponents and overwhelm them. And of course, if we have a land as your secret commander and it's not legendary, we're going to want to copy it. Copy land is a perfect way to do that. It's a 3 mana blue enchantment. You may have it enter as a copy of any land on the battlefield, except it's an enchantment in addition to its other types. Then you got the classic like Vesuva. It's a land that comes in as a copy, a tapped copy of any land on the battlefield. Since we have white in the deck, it actually makes it really easy to search for lands. Obviously, green's the best color, but we don't have access to that. But there's also blue options as well. Dreamscape Artist is a good one. It's a 2 mana blue human spell shaper. You pay 3, tap it, discard a card, sacrifice a land. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library, and it's a 1/1. And then you got something like Settle the Wreckage. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this isn't a land ramp. You're supposed to be exiling your opponent's creatures. But it just says on the card, it says exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search their library for basic lands, put on battlefield tab, equal to the number of attacking. What if you attack with 10 2/2 zombies, then cast this? Well, and then you target yourself, you exile all 10 zombies, and then you get to search for 10 basic lands. That is how one way you can use. Obviously, you can use this defensively in the deck, but you can also use it to mana ramp. White has a lot of catch-up ramp, which we'll use perfectly, like Gift of Estates. It's a 2 mana white sorcery. If an opponent has more lands than you, search your library for up to 3 plains cards, reveal them, put in your hand, then shuffle. And then if you're going to be playing that, there's a couple ways you can always make sure you have less lands than your opponent. For example, you can do bounce land like Azorius Chancery, and you could also do land sacrifice if you wanted. Personally, I just did the bounce lands. You only need kind of, because your opponents hopefully will be mana ramping too, so you won't be too far ahead. Obviously, landfall effects would be really nice for this deck. Omnixilus the Fallen is perfect because he is a demon. So he's a 5 mana black legendary creature demon, has landfall that says whenever a land enters the battlefield, you may have target player lose 3 life. And if you do, put 3+1/+1 counters on Omnixilus. He's a 3/3. Now, if you don't know this, Omnixilus in this art, he had a hedron in his forehead preventing him from planeswalking. So he was just a creature. Then you got Virtue of Knowledge. This essentially doubles the landfall triggers because it says if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. That includes your lands. So you get 2 zombies for the price of 1, or if you have Omnixilus out, they lose 6 life and you get 6+1/+1 counters. So it's a really effective way to go about it. Army of the Damned would be a great addition to this. It's an 8 mana black sorcery. Create 13 tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Then it flashes back for 10. Now, I wish they put that in the secret layer. That would be cool. They'd call it Army of Darkness, which was one of the titles of the sequels. Then you got your creep show cards that you can throw in here. They made a secret layer with the creep show. Go full on horror movie fan. This one's of Death Baron. He's a 3 mana black zombie wizard. He gives all skeletons and zombies you control +1/+1 in death touch. So he boosts our tokens, which is perfect, and he fits the movie theme. You, of course, are going to be attacking with your token army. However, board wipes happen and that will just wreck you. What's some ways to protect yourself? Of course, you got instant speed like Clever Concealment, Dawn's Truce. However, I like these guys because they're zombies and they force your opponent to make very hard choices. You got Plague Belcher, Vengeful Dead, and Diregraph Captain. They all have an ability that says whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Except for Diagraph Captain, its target opponent loses 1 life. So you have these 2 of these out with what, 10 maybe zombies out, and they board wipe, they essentially lose the game. Now, one thing I really like about Secret Layers or the special arts they've been doing in sets is they actually do movie poster cards. Now, some of these movie posters aren't horror, but a lot of them are. You got the Meat Hook Massacre, Wrath of God, Rise of the Dark Realms, Gravecrawler, Darkness, Living Death, Goro's Vengeance, and Reconnaissance. Now, these are all great cards, all staples in a zombie deck. However, they are also movie posters, and so that fits the theme. I actually own this deck in paper, and I put as many of these and the Creep Show cards as I could in the deck. The next movie we're going to talk about is one of the scariest I've seen. Any movie involving creepy ghost children just gives me the chills. The Ring is one such movie. And funny enough, they actually made a reference for it in the Duskmore set called Cursed Recording. Now, Cursed Recording is a 4 mana red artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a time counter on Cursed Recording. Then, if there are 7 or more time counters on it, remove the counters and it deals 20 damage to you. Then you can tap it. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So essentially what we're going to be wanting to do in this deck, we're going to want to tap and untap that. We're going to want to have some way to get around that 20 damage, either preventing it or redirecting it to our opponents. And then we're going to want to copy it, the activated ability, if we can. In the Ring, the evil spirit of a girl named Samara Morgan haunts a VHS tape after her murder. Remember, VHS tapes back in the day, that was a simpler time. If you would watch said tape, you would get a phone call right after. If you picked it up, it would say 7 days. And then 7 days later, you'll die. All throughout, you'd see signs of your fate as she'd appear in mirrors and such. Super creepy. But there was a way to beat her and a way to win, and that is to make a copy of the VHS tape and spread it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to copy our cursed recording. Now, I just love the flavor of the 7 days, and then they make 7 counters. You lose 20 life, which in a standard game would actually kill you. That's probably one of the most flavorfully and perfectly done cards, the Cursed Recording. Now, on the set of Duskmore, it is essentially a giant haunted house. On the perimeter of the plane, so the whole plane is a whole giant house. On the perimeter, almost like a fence, is this world of spirits. The spirits can get through mirrors and television sets, and they essentially try to re-enter, but eventually they go right back, and it's almost like a cycle, and they're never happy to see you. Now we are playing Jeskai colors, and I'll get into the commanders here shortly. But you got a million ways to copy artifacts. You got Echo Storm. It's a 5 mana blue sorcery. Whenever you cast this spell, copy it for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. You may choose new targets for the copy. Then you can create a token that's a copy of target artifact. So it's essentially like Storm, but only counts your commander. So you can make 1, 2, hopefully 3. And remember, we will probably tap our cursed recordings before casting this, so it will be copied with our recordings, and then we just keep making more recordings and then copying it again and making more recordings. It's going to be a whole thing. Then you got Replication Technique. It is a 5 mana blue sorcery, has Demonstrate. Then you create a token that's a copy of target permanent you control. Same situation, you tap your cursed recording, then cast this, it's copied. Then you get to copy it again for its Demonstrate. So you get 3 copies for the price of one. That's pretty good. There are always heroes in every horror movie. Selfless Squire is that hero for this deck. It's a 4 mana white human soldier, has flash. When it enters the battlefield, you prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. Then, whenever damage that would be dealt to you is prevented, you put that many +1/+1 counters on Selfless Squire, and it's a 1/1. So, that last ability counts any damage prevented while it's on the field, not just that first damage. So let's say your curse recording does 20 damage to you, or its ability goes on the stack. You play Selfless Squire, and it will prevent that, giving her +20/+20. Then you got stuff like Bless Sanctuary. It is a 5 mana white enchantment. You prevent all non combat damage that will be dealt to you and creatures you control. Then, whenever a non token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you create a 2/2 white unicorn creature token. So, that first ability to prevent all non combat damage is going to be great because we're going to be playing around with that a lot. And we're going to play around with it with stuff like Fault Line, just X spells that do damage to each player and each creature, because we're going to be preventing most of that damage, so it's only going to hurt our opponents. So Fault Line is an X red instant. It deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. And we're also going to have Blasphemous Act and all those kind of things in there. Now, behind this photo, the background is actually a secret layer of Blasphemous Act. It has really cool art too. You have Brash Taunter, which is going to be perfect for this deck because we're going to be board wiping with damage a lot. It's a 5 mana goblin with indestructible. When it is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent. And you can pay 3, tap it, it fights something, and it's a 1/1. So that's almost. And by the way, it's one of the few cards that says this fights another target creature, not another target creature you don't control. So you can easily hit yourself with Squire, for example, once it's boosted, and one shot an opponent. So there's a lot of cool synergies of this deck, even though it's really built around curse recording. There's a lot of moving pieces here. Sculpting steel and effects like it are going to be perfect. You pay 3, it's an artifact. It comes into play as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. So your sculpting steel becomes a cursed recording. That's one way to get multiple triggers. But you have to worry about that 7, no, once you hit that 7 counter. You can play cards in here that remove counters if you want it. Then you got stuff like Vaultic Key. It's a 1 mana artifact. You pay 1, tap it, untap target artifact. Remember, the curse recording is getting a counter whenever you cast something, not every time you tap it. So if you tap it 100 times and only cast one spell, it only gets one counter. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to try to put as many instants and sorceries in here as we can, of course. Your removal and your mana ramp is going to be needed in every deck. This deck's no exception. You got Oleron's Searing Blight. It's a 4 mana Boros instant. Each opponent exiles a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. If there are 2 or more instants and sorceries in your graveyard, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the power of the creature they exiled. So if you copy this 4 or 5 times, you board wipe them and do a whole bunch of damage to their face. Then you got one of my favorites. I know it's not cost effective, but it's just so cool. You got Call of the Mountain Kokobo. It is a 4 mana red sorcery. You search your library for a mountain card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. Then you create a 2/2 green bird creature token with whenever a land enters, this token gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and then you can flashback it for 6. So hopefully you make a bunch of birds, get a bunch of mana out, and so that's just perfect. You got Gift of Estates you can play in here. There's so many options. For commanders, you can do almost any commander you want. That's why I'm mentioning them at the very end of this deck, because it doesn't matter. I picked Alesha of the Infinite. It's a 5 mana Jeskai legendary creature, Jin Monk. As prowess, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast non creature spells from the top of your library. If you cast them this way, they have flash, and it's a 3/3. I picked this one because it's card advantage. I know a lot of people really don't see top deck playing as card advantage, but I do. You can also play this guy, KF Famed Mechanist. It's a 4 mana Jeskai legendary creature, dwarf artificer, has fabricate 1. Then other non-token creatures you control have fabricate 1. You can pay 2, tap it, choose one, populate or proliferate, and it's a 3/3. So you can proliferate those counters. I don't see why you would unless you want to redirect the damage, but it's just good value, especially to populate. Populate, just to note, is only for creature tokens. It's not for any token that you have, unfortunately, or else I would definitely pick this because I would just make token copies of my curse recording and then use her to make more, but that's unfortunately not how it works. This next deck is based on the main antagonist of the Stranger Things series. Technically not a movie, but we're including it. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend the first season at least. The kids in the show named the Mindflayer after the D&D race of the same name, but that's about where the relations end. We will get into it, but let me read the card real quick. Mindflayer the Shadow is a 7 mana black legendary enchantment creature horror. It isn't a creature unless you control 3 or more permanents you don't own. At the beginning of your end step, exile the bottom card of each opponent's library face down. For as long as these cards remain exiled, you may look at them and you may cast permanent spells from among them, and you may spend mana as though it were any color to cast them, and it's a 9/9. So a lot's going on there. It's stealing permanents. It's not a creature until you have enough of your opponents. So it's also caring about the bottom of your opponent's library. So what I built this deck around that really made me do it. Obviously, theft is an interesting way to go, and we do have some of that, but we're really doing mill and bottom manipulation of the library, and I'll explain a little more. It'll make sense. Now, the Mind Flayer is from an alternate dimension known as the Upside Down. Funny enough, the card's front side, like if you bought it from the secret layer, the front side is actually upside down, the back side is normal side. That's pretty cool, Wizards, okay? I wish they would care about flavor that much all the time. Now, the goal of the Mind Flayer is to move other worlds into its own world, increasing its own power as the realm he controls grows. He often will inhabit the bodies of others in other worlds to get a foothold into go into that dimension. Hence his ability to steal from the bottom of people's library. It's the upside down, and he's taking control of people. Eventually, the children come into direct conflict with him and many of his summoned minions. I won't spoil what goes on in the show, but it's really good, especially if you grew up in the 80s. I did not, but if you grew up in the 80s, you would love this show because there's so much 80s nostalgia involved. Like I said, we're doing bottom of the library manipulation. When I first saw this guy, what that really struck me, I was like, how can we break this ability? How can we use it? Well, the first way is to tuck things on the bottom of your opponent's library. There aren't that many ways in black to do that, but there are a lot of artifacts that do it, maybe like 15 total, that tuck cards to the bottom of your opponent's library from their graveyard. Here's two examples. You got Chrome Companion, which is one of the most adorable cards. It's a 2 mana artifact creature dog. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, you gain a life and you pay to tap it. Put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. It's a 2/1. Then you got Ryoto Sentinel. It's a 3 mana artifact creature construct. Has Defender. When it enters the battlefield, target player mills 3 cards. And then it has pay 3, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. And it's a 3/3. So we can pick and choose the permanents we want from our opponent from their graveyard, put on our library, and then our commander will get it at the end of turn. Now, funny enough, they actually came out with a card while I was building this deck that tucks things in mono black on the bottom of the library. It's the Spots Portal. It's a 3 mana black instant. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. You lose 2 life unless you control a villain. We're obviously not going to control a villain, although our character is the villain of Stranger Things. Then you got Vessel of the Endless Rest, which is a dope name. It's a 3 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, so it's a mana rock that also tucks. So, how will we get things into our opponent's graveyard? Well, we will start by destroying them, of course. We're going to have a lot of removal in this deck, especially since our commander has a high CMC. So, we want to set up our board and pick off things that are threats. But also, milling is another great way to do it. Radiation counters are an effective way to do this. Screeching Scorch Bat is a 6 mana black bat mutant, has flying and menace. Whenever it attacks, each player gets 2 rad counters. And then, whenever one or more non-land cards are milled, you create a 2/2 black zombie mutant creature token, and then you only do this once each turn. It's a 5/5. I can totally see this guy being a minion of the Mind Flayer. Then you got Infesting Radroach. It's a 3 mana black insect mutant. It has flying. It can't block. And when it deals combat damage to a player, they get that many rad counters. Whenever An opponent mills a non-land card. If this creature is in your graveyard, you may return it to your hand. It's a 2/2. So it's a roach that never dies, and we keep getting it back because we're going to be milling a lot. Grisly Spectacle is a 4 mana black instant that not only destroys a creature but also mills. It says destroy target non artifact creature. Its controller puts a number of cards equal to that creature's power from the top of their library into their graveyard. Of course, mill used to not even be a keyword, it is now, and this was before it was a keyword. That's why it's so wordy. Then you got Dread Summons. It's a pretty cool card. It's an X in 2 black sorcery. Each player mills X cards. For each creature put into the graveyard this way, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So this mills every player, which is exactly what we're looking for. Just some fun includes for this stack. They are technically demons, which fits the theme of this whole video. And I'm probably going to mispronounce this one, but it's Crab Abomination. It's just crab with abomination combined. You gotta love it. It's a 6 mana black crab demon. That's so cool. Then it emerges from artifacts for 7. So how emerge works, like if you have a 3 mana artifact, you can sacrifice the 3 mana artifact to reduce the emerge cost by 3, so it only costs you 4. Then you may cast it, and I believe you no, it's offering that casts at instant speed. This you have to cast it at whatever speed you can normally cast it at. Well, anyway, when it enters the battlefield, target opponent exiles the top card of their library, a card at random from their graveyard, and a card at random from their hand. You may cast spells from among them, exile this way without paying their mana cost. It's a 4/4, or sorry, 5/5. That is a powerful ability. If you blink this, oh my god, that would be so brutal. Then you got Extractor Demon. It's a 6 mana demon. As flying, and whenever another creature leaves the battlefield, you may have target player mill the top 2 cards of their library. Then as Unearth for 3, and it's a 5/5. So that's essentially the deck. You want to manipulate the bottom of your opponent's library, kill their creatures, mill them, and then put whatever you want on the bottom, then have your commander get it, and hopefully you'll get at least 3 so you can beat face with a 9/9 commander. And that's the video. Thank you so much for watching until the end. I was so pumped to start these Halloween movie kind of videos. Now, I'm actually going to have different kinds of Halloween decks. I'm going to have movies, I'm going to have literature, I'm going to have the heroes. I'm going to have a video that has one of each monocolor and how each color represents horror and scariness in their color set because it's not all black. So, keep a lookout, okay guys? I'm going to be posting a few extra videos this month because of that. I'm just pumped. I love making these videos normally, but you add another one of my hobbies of horror movies and I'm just going to go ham, okay guys? Just stick with me. I hope you liked it. I hope I didn't scare you guys away with some of the creepy imagery. Well, I want to get everyone in the horror mood, in the Halloween mood because Halloween's coming up, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.